really, I think where this church sees itself going in the next 5-10 years, I think that's as far out as you could ever look optimistically. But I think where this church sees itself going is being more and more embedded in our community. I'll say a little bit more about that in a minute. And also being a place where people feel they could come, worship, have a safe place, and grow. So it's really a combination of a place where discipleship is really nurtured and a place where faith is really lived out and out from. It's not confined to the church walls. We live out our faith outside our walls. We have a community garden here. We've actually had a community garden for 7-8 years or something like that. But we reached a point where, ironically enough, not because of increased attendance, but because of the age of some of our members, we needed to have another parking lot close to the main entrance for our church. Well, that's where our community garden was. And we were all pretty much in agreement. We didn't want to give up the community garden. So what were our options? Well, there were a couple homes, derelict homes on a lot right across the street from the church. We bought the lot, bought the homes, tore them down, put in a garden. I think we invested something like $200,000 so that we could keep that garden for our community and still meet our other need for some additional parking. But we weren't going to do an either or. It's not parking or garden. It's like there's got to be a way to do both because this neighborhood's that important to us. And we are always looking for ways to just be more and more, first of all, of service to our neighbors, but also connected to our neighbors. One of the things we're checking out right now, I don't know what will happen with this, but a program that's going to hopefully bring together a number of our mission partners in the neighborhood that provide aid and guidance and assistance and education. And how can we work together to help people who are in poverty work their way out of poverty? We don't just want to be that person given a handout. Sometimes that's needed, and I'm glad we can do that. But can we help them get to the point where they're feeling good about themselves and they don't need that handout? And so I don't know where that conversation is going, but we're having that conversation right now and looking at resources. I would hope that in a few years we're going to see something come of that. I'd love to see it happen sooner, but things take time, and institutions move a little slower than we might like. And but nonetheless, I think that's going to be the direction this church continues to grow, is just being more and more embedded in our community and making relationships. It's one of the beauties of the community garden is we have a garden plot over there too as a church, and different ones of our staff, our church members, farm it each year. We also, with some other agencies in town, keep the grass mowed, keep the snow removed, keep the place cleaned up. So we're over there, and just being able to talk with the other gardeners who live in this neighborhood has just been a real gift to be able to build those relationships. We have a little free library right outside our church that, every once in a while when I come into the office or leaving for lunch or something, I'll look over and there's somebody sitting over there flipping through the books. And so I just stop and we just talk. And it's just, it's been a great excuse for people to get together and get to know each other. And so I see us doing more and more of that. In fact, we're constantly talking about and finding ways to just be with our neighbors. Just to be with our neighbors. So that's a big part. The other part, of our vision really is about discipleship. How can we connect with people who are wanting to grow in their faith, explore it for the first time? And we do that through our Christian Ed program. And we're looking at some new options coming up this fall in the adult education part of that program that's really going to speak to a path for discipleship. And we also have our worship services, which is a big part of that. And we have, of course, our in-person worship service on Sundays at 10, which, there's teaching from the pulpit, but there's also teaching in the music, and there's worship, and there's community and people opportunities for people to connect and say, how you doing? How can I walk with you? But we also have our online ministry, which is just in the fledgling stages. Because of COVID, we really started doing the online ministry, the worship service. And that started out really more out of necessity. I mean, we stopped the in-person worship, and it's like, we got to have something out there for our people. And so we did that. But we've caught a vision for a much larger ministry than just recording our worship service and putting it on the web. So we're going to have a worship service. We're in process of this right now that's going to look a little different than our Sunday morning service, because people engage differently online than they do when they're sitting in a pew. But we're also looking at more education opportunities. We had some during COVID, but they were just, again, kind of fill in as we just kind of had to get by. But now we're really looking at building a community online. We're going to offer opportunities for spiritual growth. We're going to offer safe places for people to ask questions. We're going to offer safe places for people just to connect with each other and know they're not alone. And so that's a fledgling ministry that we're really pouring our energy into now. But that's one of the priorities of our church right now.